account is not online anymore, right?
Hari Om, everyone. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Jyoti ji.
Hari Om. So nice to see everyone. I hope everyone from Atlanta is doing well after that storm last weekend. I hope everyone is in good health and their families are all safe. And Bhagwan protects us, so let us hope everything will be well from here. So we'll begin now. Prayer. Om. 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 Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvikhnam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham karishyami Siddhir me sada Samasta kalyani Niratam karunamayam Namami chinmayam devam Sadgurum brahma vidvaram Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma Vitvishavahay Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So Hari Om everyone. Last week we saw some nice tips for living a happier life. And true to the word sutra, they were beautiful little aphorisms, means little capsules of advice given to us, having implemented which life can become a bit more delightful, or at least a little less troublesome. Now this week, we will enter into another topic, a very important topic actually. This week's topic is that thing that everyone wants to know, meaning, how do I get along with everyone around me? Our title for today's chapter is Harmony in Relationships. Now, many of us say, my God, if I can have harmony in all of my relationships, Jyoti ji, I'll be mukta at the same time. Because in life, what really brings us, these challenges, it's when those around us seem to be creating a situation where, life cannot be harmonious. Sometimes it may be us, sometimes it may be others. Circumstances may come to make things unharmonious, but that we cannot do so much about. Relationships, however, we have an amazing amount of control in how we can transact with each other. But yet relationships tend to be the thing that we feel we have the least control over. So in today's class, we're going to explore this and how we can inculcate harmony in our relationships in life. Now, when it comes to relationships, we have to understand one thing. Shastra currently tells us that bliss, that happiness that we are seeking in life, in relationships, is actually all within here. And that the realization of this will only come when I can detach from outside and look inward. But we cannot at the same time deny that those self-said external relationships, which Shastra tells me I should begin to negate or detach from, those themselves often provide the catalyst for triggering that process of self-unfoldment in me, because they provide the appropriate support, inspiration, or even challenge to facilitate my spiritual evolution. And so the importance of relationships in my own spiritual journey to realization cannot be denied. Because of this, mastery of these interrelations becomes a crucial territory in which to traverse with dexterity. So, as we explore this topic of harmony in relationships, we must understand it from that perspective, that we utilize these techniques, harmonize our transactional level so that it can become a stepping stone to a higher spiritual journey. So, in the process of doing this, let us examine these interactions which life brings to us through relationships. Now, life's interactions we can categorize in three fields. Interactions with myself, means within here, my own mental transactions with myself. Interactions with relations around me, those people around. And thirdly, interactions with circumstances that come up, meaning antar and bahya, internal interactions, external interactions. And within external too, jara chetana, interactions with sentient beings and interactions with inert situations. So in these three ways, we can divide all of our interactions in life. Now, what we find is when we look at these three, interactions with myself, relations, and circumstances, that if these first two are congenial, means if in myself I'm strong, I'm focused, and if in my relations, my kith and kin form a very supportive family environment for me, then the third one, circumstances, become uncircumstantial. Means once I am strong and I have family to support me, all situations become easily surmountable. Now let's look at this in a different way. If we were to put these two together, means when I am strong in my core, if I am resilient by myself, then relations and circumstances both become easily surmountable. If I am strong in myself, then no matter what personality comes at me, or whatever trouble may come through that relation, and no matter what circumstance life throws at me, if my core is brilliant, intelligent, strong with spirituality and character, then I can deal with whatever comes in life. So what we find here is that the heights that we can reach to in life, our achievements, our ability to handle situations, circumstances, and people in our life is directly dependent on the strength of my own character internally. Meaning that the altitude that I can achieve is dependent on my internal attitude. And vice versa also. The attitude with which I face life depends on my internal altitude, means the depth of my character. So we see a relationship here that the strength of my internal character determines the attitude with which I face life outside and triumph. So in other words, my internal depth determines my external height. So in this we look at that relationship of attitude and altitude. Internal altitude is something that we have discussed in some depth, especially within the first 3 chapters. Those chapters on our mind, exploring our mind, controlling, mastering that mind, utilizing it to take charge and finding our potential in it. Then empowering ourselves into our best life. All of this is our internal altitude. Now, the second aspect, our attitude towards the world outside and relations, that is what we will be discussing today, because that is the aspect that affects the harmony in our relationships. So, our attitude. Each of us has a particular flavor to our character. And sometimes others are in sync with that flavor and we get along well with them. Other times, not so much. And this is what makes living harmoniously a bit of a challenge sometimes. In this text, Guruji says there are 2 types of people in this world. There are those who have difficulties and there are those who just are difficult. Both of these type of people we will meet in life. But there's one rule which we can use for interacting, regardless of which one of these 2 types that we're interacting with in the world. There's one simple rule. This is the first tip that's given when interacting. And that is, we've all heard this, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This is the English way of verbalizing the law of karma siddhanta that we call in Shastra. Whatever you want to come to you, you act that way. You treat others well, you will be treated well. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, this rule needs to be understood with viveka, of course, in right context, because we can say, well, I don't want to make anything of myself in life. I want to relax and be a nuisance to everyone, and I want everyone to treat me nicely. So if I see someone being a bum, I'm going to treat them nicely also. So the people will treat, no, this is called kutarka. This is called misinterpreting what is being said. So we have to understand in right context. When we say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, what we mean is, if I am this type of person and I have acted in this certain way, then what is the rational and reasonable way that I deserve to be treated back legitimately? And we act in accordance with that. Meaning, if I have done some great project at work, everything has fallen in line nicely, project is presented, the boss is happy, everyone in the boardroom is patting me on my shoulder. But there are 1 or 2 little glitches in the project, as is to be expected. 98%, well done. 2% we'll have to fix. And you know, your boss will come to you and congratulate you for this, but he'll pull you aside and say, there's 1, 2 things we'll fix after. Don't worry about it. Now say someone else who you do not have positive feelings toward in your workplace does a similar project. They do well. Again, 98%, 2%, some errors are there. That negativity in our character can act up in a way that we can point out all of the flaws in that thing. Even though the project was very well done, and we know it is appropriate to congratulate them, still I don't like them, so I'm going to point out every flaw that I can see and make them look bad in front of everyone else. You know that it's not appropriate, and you know you would not want someone to do that to you. In this way, you do not do that to them. You congratulate them, and then you tell one of their friends in the office, there's these 2 little errors, you make sure you tell him, let him fix it. You know that if you are treated like that, you would appreciate it. And it is what is appropriate. So it doesn't matter whether you like or dislike. What is the right thing to do? And you do unto others in that way, as you would expect rightfully to be treated back from them. So this phrase actually means no double standards in life. Similarly, now if I'm faced with someone who is respectable, who's already shown themselves to be of a certain caliber, maybe a work colleague, maybe my partner at home, then that person should be treated with the valid amount of trust, not suspicion. If we mistrust others until proven trustworthy, then relationships become strained. They become difficult. When one is put to the test to always prove themselves, then not only does this put tension on the relationship, it stresses out the other person, but it also destroys you. This is what we need to look at. Samshayatma vinashyati. The one who is always doubting, always suspicious, he has no peace. He will never be satisfied or happy in life when suspicion is always there in the mind. Conversely, if we trust others, what do? We actually invoke a sense of goodness in them. Meaning, I may have some colleague, some partner, someone, and I let them know whether it's deserving yet or not. I say, I trust you. Let's work together. Let's see how well this can go. What happens then is, if they've reached a point where they have a decision to make, I can do this the shortcut way, I can make a lot of money, or I can enjoy, no one will know anything. But at the back of their mind, this thought is, but that person trusts me. And if I do this, I will betray their trust. That thought alone sometimes can stop them. They may not stand at that caliber for themselves. They may want the easy way out. But for your sake, they will say, you know what? It's a good person. And they trust me, I don't think I should betray their trust in this way. And in that way, when someone may not have the strengths to do the right thing on their own, you putting trust in them may give them the character that they need at that point to do the right thing. When we place trust in others, we actually bring out the best in them, or at least that opportunity for them to be the best. Sometimes it's not even about you, that they don't want to lose your trust or that they think so much of you. Sometimes it may even be about themselves, meaning not many people think I'm worth so much. Not many people are going to put their trust in me. If this one person actually thinks I'm trustworthy, maybe I should keep this, I don't know who else will actually think I'm worth something. And so even people who you think may not be worthy of that trust, cautiously, you tell them this to help build them. Be very vigilant. But sometimes it may just be about their own character, that no one else thinks anything of me. But let me do this because someone else is willing to give me a chance to show that I am more than I think I am. We can bring out the best in others, that sense of goodness, when we place trust in them. And of course, we may say at times, trust is betrayed. It does happen, and that's true. So why Gurudev always tells us, be vigilant. But if this does happen, then look on it as an opportunity to learn and grow. We will be more cautious next time, that's all. But don't allow it to destroy us. Many times this is what happens. We place trust is betrayed, and then we let that thing destroy us. I'll never forgive this person. I'll never enter into that situation again. And what happens? It's our own peace that gets taken away. See, when we forgive someone, forgiveness does not pardon their behavior. Forgiveness prevents that behavior from destroying your heart or your mind. Forgiveness is more for you than for the other person. Because whether you forgive them or not, their character will have to evolve. Bhagwan will help them with that. But if you don't forgive and try to put it out of your mind, it will continually eat at you. This will do you no good. Forgiveness does not pardon their behavior. It simply helps you to get past it so that you can rise above. And no problem, be wiser next time, that's all. Be cautious and vigilant. But life should be used as a learning experience, not to take myself as a victim now. The ones who master life are the ones who never make themselves victims of life. Everything is an opportunity. Now I know how to triumph next time. But because when we make ourselves into victims, we actually make everyone else in our life a victim also. Means we try to rule them after that. I've been through bad experiences, and so I'm going to lay down the law. This is how it has to be with me. We can't rule people like that. We cannot tell them what to do. It won't work. At our level, rules are actually inconsequential. Meaning, so I'm not talking about with your kids. Kids, you have to set rules in that age as they're growing. But at our level, means colleagues, partner, family, brothers and sisters, parents, even your adolescent children, adolescent and adult, when they're at that age where they can intellectually understand and they have their own personality. At that stage, rules actually become inconsequential. And I'll show you how. If someone loves you, then they will always want to do what is right by you. Rules are not required. Conversely, if someone does not have that love or that respect for you, then in spite of the rules, they will still disregard. So what does it mean? It means when there is respect or love, rules are not required. The right thing will be done. And when there's no respect nor love, rules are not followed. So they have no place. The moral is, don't waste your time setting down the law, laying down the rules, and instead repurpose that time into fostering relationships of integrity and a different caliber with that person, so that thereafter their attitude will reflect their internal altitude. And this is what creates lasting bonds, bonds of substance. And this is what we really want in life. When we can do this, there will be no need to have rules. Because when someone's internal personality is well evolved, has trust, has that strength, has that caliber, they themselves will do what is right. And that's where we should aim to be with each other. Where rules are not needed because I will do what is right anyway. You know, it's said at the end of study, those who become realized, it's said, even Shastra you give up. Tyaktva sarvam asheshataha. Even Shastra can be dropped. Why? Doesn't mean they don't follow the rules of Shastra anymore. It means that they have become Vedas themselves. Those realized masters, they have imbibed Vedas so much that they begin to live Vedas. They can leave Shastra because Shastra will live through them and they will never break the rules because they have become the rules themselves. They will never act out of line. It's not said leave Shastra behind because rules should not be followed anymore. No, you become that rule and you live at that caliber. This is how we must evolve. Of course, this is the highest level of it. It starts here. When our relationships are built on a higher principle or on a spiritual mindset, those relationships are strong and lasting. If the basis of any relationship is worldly only, then it is binding. But if it is spiritual, then it is liberating. It can be used as that stepping stone toward liberation. And this sort of relationship that we can develop when we transact is not only relationships with other people, but relationships with objects and circumstances also. Meaning when we forge a spiritual relationship with worldly objects around us, then they become the means for our spiritual unfoldment and liberation. Everyone says money is the source of all evil. Money by itself does not bind. Money can become a means to serve society. It can be used to promote seva projects. Your house. Many people build a house saying, look how beautiful and wonderful my house looks. When everyone comes, they'll be so envious. I can't wait for everyone to visit. A house does not have to be a source of abhimana, of pride. A house can be used for honoring great people. House wants Swamiji there. House can be used for holding satsangs. Means that it's the mental mindset, the vision, with which I interact with that person or object, that circumstance, and not the thing itself. And when I come to learn this sort of transaction, then I can enjoy healthier and more harmonious interactions in life with those same people, objects, or circumstances. This is the art of right transaction. And now this transaction word. So we look at this transaction word because this is key. See, when we have relationships in life, what is a relationship? A relationship is a transaction with someone else. It means it's a give and a take. It must be a two-way street. Many times we forget there's another lane on that street and it becomes one way. Is my partner doing what they're supposed to? Are they living up to their expectations? Are they doing right by me? Many times it becomes about what I expect out of them. But you ask yourself, see, we all want to have the most supportive best friend, the most dependable business colleague, or the perfect soulmate. This soulmate word was used a lot a few years ago, and everybody wants perfect soulmate. What does that really mean? It means you want someone of that caliber in your life. But you ask yourself, if I want that caliber of partner, why would they want me? Means, what is your character? What is your caliber? Have you made yourself deserving of having a perfect partner? You think a perfect partner would not want back a perfect partner? Many times we only think one way. I need to find that perfect person. What about you becoming that perfect person? This is the law of cause and effect. If we work on ourselves, this is the law of cause and effect. You work on yourself. You make yourself of a certain level. Then Bhagwan will have no choice but to send someone who can match you. Simple. But too many times, we spend too much time looking outward. You make yourself ready, and that person will come. You improve your own character, all of a sudden your partner of 30 years will suddenly begin to act better and relate better with you. Your own personality, as it becomes lighter and more brilliant, others around you will want to be around you more. Gurudev used to say, you change, the entire universe will respond. But no, we expect of others. And this is where the problem comes. Asha dukhasya karana. Expectation is the seed of all sorrow. We expect and we only think about receiving, what will come. Try for a minute to think that I am not always on the receiving end. If I am someone's soulmate, then what is expected of me? See, it's like we said, it's not about making that person into the perfect person that you want them to be. It's not about finding the perfect partner. It's about being the perfect partner. And this we have to even teach our kids. If they're in that age group where they're developing friendships and so on, teach them before they stop listening to you. Teach them now itself. Teach them what to look for. Have a checklist. What are the perfect qualities you want in your friends? Good, all of these things. No, if you have that perfect friend, why would they want to be your friend? You become that first. Teach them these things. Let them grow in tandem with this. If you make yourself better, Bhagwan will send better to surround you. This is that key to harmonizing relationships, and it has more to do with us than outside. If I change, then in time, little by little, everything will change around me. Every action must have a reaction. Every cause must have an effect. This is the law of karma, which even Bhagwan promised. In Ramayana, in Sri Ramacharitamanasa, Bhagwan Sri Rama even said, this law of karma, even I am bound by it. Meaning that even I will respect that law and act in accordance with it in order to uphold it. So that you will all follow this also. When we work, results will come. Now there's one final point which I'll make on this aspect of harmony in relationships, being happy in relationships. And it's one of the most important points because it has to do with our controlling mind. Now this is one that we all face. That mind is always controlling us, and in turn we're trying to control others from that mind. And what happens is that many times we're very harsh in judging others around us, how they should be, what they should do, but we're very lenient with our own flaws. We need to flip this equation upside down. Means you should be your own worst critic. Means that there should be no criticism that anyone can lay against your character, which you cannot respond with saying, yes, I know that already. You're right. I'm working on it. Nothing should remain unknown to you. Be very self-aware. Gurudev used to say, and I say this all the time, I like this quote. Gurudev said, alert and vigilant living is sadhana of the truest kind. We need to be strict with ourselves, but compassionate with others. Intelligently compassionate, of course. But we tend to have it the opposite way. Flip that equation. And when we do this, what we will do is we will begin to rule our own minds and stop trying to rule others' minds. Means even our own mind is constantly changing, but yet we ask others to keep changing to keep up with us. How can they? And why should they also? We need to respect others and their personality, their right to their own thoughts and behaviors and their lifestyles. And sometimes we may even need to agree to disagree. Meaning, we have to be wise and controlled enough in certain circumstances to know that this particular outlook is required here. And this will serve the best interest. Only then can there be harmony in these type of relations. So some viveka has to be there to know which one is to be met in which way. It can't just all be up to us and what's inside our mind and how we want everything to be. Each person is exhausting his own vasanas. And these innate tendencies, this ingrained nature that's there in them, they will act in accordance with this, their thoughts and their actions. You let them, forgive them. You know better. You take care of your own tendencies. Bhagwan will help them evolve. So many times you just have to leave them. Let them be and take care of ourselves. I heard one nice quote. So usually I quote from Shastra or some famous person. I'm going to quote from a cartoon right now. Now I don't watch television, but before I used to love, whenever I watch television, cartoons. That's all I used to watch. I loved watching cartoons. But I actually heard something brilliant. You never know what you find, I heard something brilliant in one cartoon once, and it got stored to memory. So I'll share that with you all because it's very pertinent to this topic. The character in that cartoon said, I used to say, if you will take care of me, I'll take care of you. They're very sweet things. Some couples say this all the time, if you will take care of me, I'll take care of you, we'll grow old together. Very nice, very cute. But he said, now I see, I will take care of me for you if you will take care of you for me. I will take care of me for you if you will take care of you for me. The greatest gift that we can give anyone is their personal independence. We should not live life in a way that we become emotionally dependent on others, because we will maim ourselves in the event that they fail us, or they die, or they need to leave for some reason. Similarly, we should not make others dependent on us either. It doesn't mean that you don't love them infinitely, but that love, we have to ensure it does not develop a component of unhealthy attachment in it. And that requires great vigilance. Only when we learn this kind of skill in interactions, then we will realize how to bring harmony to all of our relationships. So this much tips were given for this topic of harmony in relationships. So I'll quickly recap what we've seen, because some very nice points are here, which we can implement in life. So we saw first that Shastra tells us all bliss is within, but in order to reach there, we need to use the external first as a stepping stone to reach to the internal. And external relationships tend to be one of the greatest catalysts for this. We saw that in these external relations, how I transact depends on my internal depth. And that depth determines the attitude that I express outside. When I'm acting in this way, we said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Means no double standards. That's the first point we saw. Then we also saw respect, don't suspect. Because the one who doubts always is the one who can never find peace. Conversely, place trust in others and invoke the best out of them. And we saw when we can act like this, rules will not be required as much. Because where there's love and respect, rules are not required. Where there's no love nor respect, rules are not followed. So utilize that opportunity to foster better relationships, relationships based in a spiritual foundation or some higher thought, instead of setting down rules to keep people at that level. If the basis of a relationship is worldly, it will bind. If the basis of a relationship is spiritual, it can lead to our liberation. Then we saw transactions in life. What does that word transaction mean? Give and take. So make ourselves into the best version of ourselves. And then those around us will begin to morph and change also. Take care of yourself. Bhagwan will take care of the rest. And then the final point we saw was with our controlling mind. So how to take care of our own mind. How to be the worst critic of our own self. And see about our own self-perfection before we criticize others. And then the final point, nice point that we saw was, take care of me for you, and you take care of you for me. See, all of these are nice little ways that we can look at our relationships in life. And when we learn to perfect our relationships in this way, life itself can become so much more smooth and comfortable. Now, this is relationships with people in our lives. Guruji also goes into relationships with objects in our life in the next chapter. And this chapter is a very short chapter. It may take about 10 minutes to cover. I have 5 minutes left. So should I enter or should we take questions? So let's see. Let me enter into the chapter. Let me see how much we can cover for today. Next week there will be no class because it's Diwali, okay? So we take a few minutes this week and you get a whole hour off next week, okay? So let's enter and see how far we can reach into the second chapter because the topics are related. First one is relationships, harmony in relationships with people. Now let's look at harmony in relationships with objects because it's very important how objects tend to affect the relationships in our life. Now, especially in this materialistic age of technology that we live in, most of us may have a stronger relationship with our cell phone than with 95% of people in our life. True or not? We have to admit it. In fact, I can even ask one question now which can prove it. So I'm going to ask this question. I don't want to know the answer. You think, God knows what the answer will be. But you think about the answer yourself, okay? If I were to ask all of you right now, you have a choice. Tomorrow, you can lose your cell phone or you can lose some distant cousin who you haven't spoken to in a long time. You will stop and think, right? The point is, at the end, you will make the right decision. Life is more important than an object. Well, I hope you will make the right decision. That person's life is definitely more important than an object. But the fact is, you stopped to consider it, didn't you? We should not even have to stop to think. Many of us will actually be like, but my cell phone, all my information, all my contacts, all my emails, how will I get that? Then you stop yourself and you say, what am I thinking? We're talking about a person's life. Of course, I would rather lose my cell phone than that. But the fact that we stop to even think, which one will cause me greater sorrow? I don't see that cousin. I probably won't even know for months and months. Who knows? Because I don't barely speak or keep in contact. A cell phone every day, that will cause me great sorrow. The fact that we even stop to consider that there's a choice in this question shows our attachment to that device. And we all fall prey to this. We are living in an era now where we value objects more than people at times. Human relations are becoming obsolete. Human relations occur only through devices. And especially now with COVID, it's becoming even more and more difficult. So this topic becomes a very important one for now. You think back and remember to not long ago, maybe 10, 20 years ago, when something funny happened, the first thing you do, you call your best friend and say, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what just happened. You know what my 5-year-old just did? You share that particular incident with them. Now what happens? You pick up your phone, take a picture, video, post it. You don't even call, or you message your friend and say, check out this video. There's no human interaction. That phone has taken the place of everything. Think back to the time when your little baby did something so adorable that your heart just melted and you were lost in that situation. No one mattered, nothing mattered. You didn't care what was happening. That situation was so sweet. Now what happens the minute baby does something cute? Where's the phone? Take a video quick. And we have to send this to their grandmother in India. They need to see this. We lose the rasa, the sweetness of that moment when we go running for a cell phone. And then what will happen after? We take the cell phone and we're looking at it. Oh, a nice video. This video came out so good. We have to send. Arey Baba, the child is in front of you still doing that sweet thing. You're not looking at the child's face. You're looking at the camera. Yeah, the video came out really nice. We have to send this. We miss the moment, in trying to prolong the moment. You need that video for so many years later. We need to start living in the moment again. We miss so much because of these devices. They have become such a strong part of our life that we forget what life was before them or without them. Granted, now, yes, we all live in the West and grandparents may live in the East or vice versa. So we will need to take videos and so on to send. That's understandable. You take one video a week and 5 pictures and you send it to them. They will be elated. They will watch that every single day for the next week until you send the next set. They don't need every single day. And I'll tell you why this is important. It's because, yes, the grandparents will get a lot of happiness off of that. And you also, when you look at it later on. But what are you doing to that child in that moment? Have you stopped to think? I saw a video once where a daddy was there telling his little daughter, okay, every night I tell you stories. Tonight you tell me a bedtime story, okay? So he had the camera there, but she didn't know. So she said, okay, daddy, come on, I'll tell you a story. I'm going to tell a story tonight. So then he raises the phone so he can get a good view of her telling the story. And then she spots it. It's a video I saw. And she said, oh, daddy, don't video. Let it just be us. Let's just be two of us, okay? I wanted to cry when I saw that. Children are aware. The minute that camera comes, everyone is going to see this. There's no personal time between me and daddy. What happened to that sanctity of daddy and daughter? What happened to that purity of a mother and her child? We're all running for cameras now. We miss it. And what we're doing every time we do that is that we're telling that child that it's okay to live an extrovert life. That every time something happens, you take a picture and you post it. Because that's what mommy and daddy does. We don't realize the subliminal messages we're sending to them. And then after years of our own bad training, we will turn around and say, this child never goes outside and plays. He's always behind his device. Who bought him this device? He buy himself the device? Parents have to parent. And it becomes so difficult, especially in this era. For only a certain few years, you will have the upper hand over them. You need to utilize this wisely. These objects, these devices can be used to help them grow instead of destroying them. Utilize them in this way instead. I'm not saying don't have them and don't give them to the children, but know how to give objects. Meaning, I'll give one example. Some movie is coming that they want to see. Some amusement park is opening up. They really, really want to go. And they're going to come and ask. Before they even ask, you say no. Meaning, daddy, can I? No. But daddy, no. I said no. This time you've already bought the tickets and you've kept it. They're going. But the minute they ask, no. Have you done your homework? How was your grades last time? We'll see. You have a test coming next week? Okay, let's see how you do then. You already have the tickets, huh? They're going. But they don't need to know that. Did you do your puja, japam every morning this week? You missed 2 days. So should I reward inconsistency? Let me see how you do for this next week. And then utilize that thing to reward them after. So that they understand objects are associated with reinforcement of positive behaviors. And use that to inculcate spiritual behaviors in them, good character in them. An object is not good nor bad. It's the effect that we allow it to have in the lives of our children. We have to inculcate these values in them, that values are more valuable than valuables. This Gurudev used to say all the time. That if you lose an object, you lose something. You lose time, you've lost something a little more precious. But you lose your character, you lose your values, you've lost something extremely valuable. In fact, you've lost everything. And this art of right transaction with these objects, it becomes very difficult. In this day and age, parenting has become so difficult. And I do pranams to all of you who are good parents because it must be so difficult in these times. So much pressure is there from peers. Children saying this parent has bought this laptop, tablet, cell phone, everything for the other person. Do you fall prey to the temptation to provide everything for them because financially you can afford it? And if not, where should the line be drawn? It's very difficult because if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. Falling prey to temptations and giving up our values, this is compromise. It's not good. And when we withstand temptation and live up to our values, this is sacrifice. But sacrifice is always difficult. Especially in this generation, it requires a lot of viveka to know when to do and what to do and how much to do. Because each child has their own personality. Each child is different, each circumstance is different. So your response will have to change with respect to each one. A lot of viveka is needed. And only when we attend classes, we read, we study, then we figure out how to develop that viveka in ourselves. It takes a lot. Proper interactions with objects. But this relation with objects is not only for children. This is the last point I'll make. That it has to be applicable to us also. We have to remember to be vigilant with our own devices and how much time we spend on these things too. Every object must be given its due importance, but not too much undue importance. We have to remain the master of these things. We should not become dependent or enslaved by them to the point that they dominate or even overwhelm our lives. That television should not dominate family time. Emails and messaging should not replace person-to-person talking. These types of transactions, they become attachments and they become very strong attachments to the point that it becomes borderline addiction. We have to watch this because this is where sorrow will come into our lives. A place for everything and everything in its place. This is viveka. And when we learn to interact with objects, relations, and values in this way, means objects and relations should be connected by values. This is how these three should play. And we should know the role and importance of each one in life and give it its appropriate priority. When we can do this, then there will be shrewd transactions with objects, and those same objects can be used to bring harmony in our relations instead of ostracizing others from us, instead of creating a bigger divide between us. In this way, we can even use objects to bring us together in a better way. When we learn this kind of art of right transaction, only then there will be harmony in our life and in our relations. So this much for this week. So we went a few minutes over. Apologies. So we'll close here. I'll do Purnamada. We do have a few minutes, so we can take one or two questions. Thank you for those who stayed back till the end of the session. After Purnamada, I'll make one short announcement about next week's class. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So next week is going to be Deepavali. So Shubh Deepavali to everyone in advance. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday next week. Now I know, so many guests and so will not be coming home, but at least your immediate family may be visiting. Those who have children who live separately, grandchildren may visit. So we want to give you free time. So have beautiful time with your family next week, no class. And of course, when family comes together, perfect atmosphere for disharmony sometimes. So utilize your teachings, okay? How to have harmony in relationships. See what you can implement next week. So next week, no class. The week after that, we'll continue. There's only one more chapter left in this book. So next class may very well be the last class. It's a bit of a long chapter, maybe one more session, but I feel next class will be final class. So be sure to attend that class so you know what the plan is further from there for those who would like to continue attending satsangs. So this much for now. Shubh Deepavali to everyone, and we'll see back following week. Ramachandra uncle, are there any other announcements?
A small announcement. Remember, thank you, Jyoti ji, so much for such a beautiful. In fact, each Saturday gets better, and today's tips are so wonderful as far as relationship. A small announcement. Jyoti ji said that next Saturday we will not have class. That is on 14th, and probably following Saturday will be the last session in Jivan Sutrani. Remember, Chinmaya Mission has a tradition of Guru Dakshina. And this of course uh, is is a duty of all of us to give Guru Dakshina for the teachings that we all get through these teachers. And Jyoti ji has been so wonderful with her teachings. Uh, you can go to our PayPal, Chinmaya Mission Atlanta's website, and pay your Guru Dakshina through PayPal, or do send us checks. Chinmaya Mission Atlanta, if you go to our website is www.chinmaya-atlanta.com. We will have our address there. You can send us a check. And so that's about it. That was the only announcement I had, Jyoti ji. Happy Deepavali to all of you.
Thank you, uncle. So we have 2-3 minutes left. Maybe we can take one question. Next week we can go more into whatever other questions are there. So maybe one question we'll take, and then we can wrap up this session. For those who need to leave, please do. Thank you for staying back, and we'll see you following week. So if anyone has question, you can raise your hand. We'll see.
Yeah, go ahead, Mansiji, unmute yourself.
Hari Om, Jyoti ji.
Hari Om.
My question is regarding, when I know relationships, I kind of understood most of everything you said, but if you see somebody who's dear to you and you just cannot ignore, you see it's like a train wreck waiting to happen. It could be an example, somebody's a drug addict or somebody's doing something that will harm them tremendously. How to handle that, especially when they are related to you or they're close to you.
So we have a duty and dharma also. These tips that I've given are general tips for happy life. Means your average life circumstance, the average life that we all have with people at a certain mental or emotional level, nice transactional tips. When there are special circumstances in life, then there's a different dharma that needs to be followed also. So I may say, you take care of yourself and you improve yourself and others will change to suit. General rule for life. Samanya dharma. But if there's a special circumstance, then we'll need to give some Vishesha dharma there. Means I will need to intervene for certain circumstances in life. So this is one where Viveka comes in, and easily sometimes we will know this. This person is going to end up down a train track and crash. I need to help at this point. So we know, good Viveka, we know when certain circumstances require intervention. In those circumstances, of course, it is your dharma to intervene. That art of transaction in that intervention becomes very important, because someone who is going down the wrong road depends on two things. If they're open and they want advice, how can I stop going down this road? It becomes much easier. But even those who don't want to hear, but they're going to crash, it is your duty still to at least offer something better. But the approach has to be different for each one. So say it's someone who they're not ready to listen, but something needs to be said. So what we do is we try to invoke as much sattva in that situation. People only listen when, number one, they feel comfortable. Number 2, they respect the one who is giving that advice. And number 3, this is Swami Surupananji always says this, love conquers all. Means if your intent is genuinely, I love this person and I want better for them, even if they don't want better for themselves, we have to approach with a lot of love, a lot of kindness and a lot of softness in the initial stage. But with viveka, means even though you approach them softly, you keep your strength up. Because if they retaliate, you don't want that your heart is so soft, you get crushed also. So you intelligently interact. You keep your shields up. You interact and you give love. You give the best advice that you've been able to gather from your study. You give it intelligently, means you look at that personality. And what is in tune with that personality? We all do this. I teach people according to how I think. You have to teach them according to how they think. You have to see their type of personality and what can I give them that will be in sync with that personality. If I need to give them an example, if you're talking to your husband, you use a sports example. If you're talking to a child, you use a cartoon example. You don't use an example of, well, me and my friends were. That will work with you and your friends. So number 1, use intelligently. Look at their character, use examples, use advice, and tune it to their character. Everything becomes about them. Many times when we want to help others, it becomes about us. I need to help this person and this person needs to take my advice. Truly helping someone means that you have to surrender your ego to that. Gurudev said the day that you decide to give love instead of demanding it, you would have changed your future destiny forever. He also said that true happiness in life is in what you can give, not what you can get. And so when we're giving advice or help to someone else, we need to do it in that spirit. I am giving. Doesn't matter if I get backlash. Doesn't matter if I get back something negative. This is the right thing to do. This is my Vishesha Dharma here. I must offer and I must do my best, my own best. Whatever is the best knowledge I have accrued from my study, I pass that on to them in a manner that is palatable to their character. And try your best and then leave the rest. You have to drop it after that. Because if their mind is not open to the situation, you never know what you do might change it. So that's why you have to try. But if what you do doesn't change it, then you use Bhagavata Dharma, like we said in last class. Bhagwan, I offer this to you. Did my best, now you take it. So this is the best approach that I can offer, considering this type of character or situation. I hope it's helpful. Okay, so we're 3 minutes over time. So if there's any other questions, please write it down or, we can save it for next week's class. We'll take questions on next week's topic and this week's topic. Sorry, a week after. Okay, so everyone do enjoy your Deepavali. Shubh Deepavali to everyone and we'll see back in 2 weeks.
Happy
Thank you,
Deepavali,
Jyoti
Jyoti.
ji. Happy Deepavali, Jyoti ji.
Happy
Hari Om
Deepavali.
Jyoti ji.
Hari
Thank
Om.
you. Hari Om.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om, Mama.
Happy Diwali.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rameshankar. Hari Om. Hari Om, Gita Ma. Hari Om, Ma.
Nice, very nice. Today's tips were very nice. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om
Hari Om
Jyoti
Jyoti
ji.
ji.
Happy
Hari
Deepavali.
Om.